Who should Israel Adesanya fight next? And does Sean Strickland really deserve a title shot? Before I go into that, if you're new here, make sure you subscribe as I have brand new videos every single week. So UFC 305 is in the rear view mirror, but I want to know, who should everyone fight next? Let's start with Dricus Du Plessis. The obvious answer would be a rematch with Sean Strickland, but Sean Strickland has been nothing but a Karen since he lost to Dricus Du Plessis, and he has cried every opportunity he's had. First, he's refused to fight Robert Whittaker, and now he's refusing to fight in South Africa. I'm not sure where he gets the gumption that he gets to dictate how this goes. Don't forget, since Sean lost to Dricus, he's only fought Paulo Costa, who was coming off a loss from Robert Whittaker. And Robert Whittaker, since he's lost to Dricus, has beat Paulo Costa, beat Ikram, and now he wants to fight Khamzat Chimaev. I hope if Robert Whittaker gets through Khamzat, he gets the title shot next, because Sean Strickland does not deserve it if he's going to act this way. He needs to be ready to fight. I'm fed up of Sean pretending he's a fight anyone, fight anywhere kind of person. He's not that guy at all. Now let's move on to Israel Adesanya. Yes, fine, he lost at 305, but he still looked pretty good and put on a competitive match. It's difficult to pick a matchup for Izzy because he's beat most of the division already. Who really wants to see him have a rematch with Costa or Vettori? I don't think it's overly interesting. I don't think Izzy should really rush into anything. I think he needs to take a little bit of time off and see where this division is, because we're going to have Sean Strickland, Dricus Du Plessis, Robert Whittaker and Khamzat Chimaev all fighting for this title now, all moving in title contention. So he could maybe fight one of the losers out of that situation and then try to get back to the top. Plus, the rematch with Rob is always there. That is a trilogy that everyone will always be interested in. There's a lot of legacy there, and it can be cashed in at any point. Kai Kara-France put on a fantastic performance against Usyk. It's logical that he gets to fight for the title next, though it seems like anyone gets a title shot in flyweight. It's a messy division at the moment, but at least the fights are good. So Pantoja and Kai Kara-France already have a lot of history. They fought way back in 2016 in TUF. Pantoja beat Kai, but it was a close back and forth and only 2 rounds. I want to see these guys go at it over 5 rounds. And even though I'm rooting for Kai, I'm not sure he would be able to get Pantoja out of there. Pantoja seems like a guy who's going to be a champion for a long time. And poor Usyk got absolutely rocked at UFC 305, but he's still inexperienced, or at least inexperienced at that high level in the UFC. But I'm incredibly excited to see where his career goes. He's a talented fighter and he's very well rounded. He just needs that little bit more experience, and I think an ideal opponent for him would be Manel Kape, who's also coming off a loss. I think it's a great way to build both of these guys up. They're both incredibly well rounded, both great fighters, and I think it'll be an absolute banger. And now my boy Dan Hooker is back in the top 5 of the lightweight division. He's got a lot of options to play with now. He could fight Dustin Poirier, he could fight Charles Oliveira, or he could fight Justin Gaethje. And I'd be happy for him to fight any of these 3 guys. They'd be incredibly fun. It would be a good back and forth fight with Oliveira. A rematch with Dustin would be fantastic. That is one of the best fights I've ever seen. It was genuinely so good, and I would not complain seeing that again. But I want to see a fresh matchup. I think Justin versus Hooker would be incredible. 2 monsters swinging at it and just going out for an absolute war. And now poor Gamrot has lost a close decision, and if I'm honest, I did have him up on the scorecards, but I'm not a little crybaby Sean Strickland fan and going to be moaning about it forever. It's just the way it goes. When there's a close fight, it can go either way, and you just need to get over it. But I think the perfect opponent for Gamrot would be a rematch with Beneil Dariush. Dariush beat him back in 2022, and he beat him quite handedly. So I think Gamrot will want to get that win back, and it can push either guy back up into that top of the lightweight division. And let's move on to the big boys. Rosenstrike battered Tai Tuivasa from pillar to post. With the heavyweights, it's always hard to book these guys because most of them already fought each other and most are coming off losses, and I always like to try and put winners against winners and losers against losers wherever possible. But I think with Rosenstrike moving up and facing off someone actually coming off a win will be Sergey Spivak. I think that's a great opportunity for him, and if he can beat him, he can really jump up towards a title in that heavyweight division, but I'm not sure he's quite well-rounded enough to get to the top. And then for Tai, it's a shame. He's lost, what now, 5 fights in a row? I think he'd be lucky to be still signed with the UFC within the next couple of months. But you never know. With heavyweight, you can always pull it back. 1 minute, you can be the #1 contender, and then the week after, you're getting absolutely pummeled by Derek Lewis. So if Tai does stay, who does he face? I think it's tricky because he's such a big name in the sport and people love to watch him. I'm a big fan of him as well, and I love seeing him fight. I think what a really fun fight would be is Muhammad Usman, a big dude trying to make a name for himself, and I think a win over Tai could get him that. Carlos Pratas finished Li Jingliang on Saturday, the first man ever to KO him. It's absolutely heartbreaking, but Pratas showed he's a monster, and I think he's going to do incredibly well in the welterweight division. I just think, though, he needs to pace himself moving up and shouldn't take any drastic fights. I think the ideal matchup for him would be the winner of Neil Magny versus Michael Moraz. I think there would be perfect opponents for him to take that step up and then move towards the top 10. With Lee, though, he's a great fighter. He's well-rounded, but he got fed to an absolute killer after coming off a huge career-ending back injury. I was surprised to see him back at all, and I'm surprised that the UFC gave him this opponent. It didn't seem quite ideal. What I'd really like to see is Li Jingliang retire. I think he's getting past that point now, and I think he's not going to be able to come back from that injury fully, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think he's going to keep fighting, and I think another guy who should retire but keeps wanting to fight is Tony Ferguson. Don't forget, these two guys were supposed to fight at UFC 279 until Khamzat Chimaev fucked it all up. So I think if neither of these guys are going to retire, let's give them to each other. Two veterans going at it who can put on an absolute classic, and that's who I think everyone should fight next from the main card. Thank you for watching. If you can like, comment and subscribe, it really does help the channel out.